And while he does play a fantastic Void, he does need some space to farm up. And if you can get Armel to set that tempo early on and not allow him to have that space and map control, it could make this Faceless Voids game really, really hard.
Definitely. It's down to just how Raven plays. Now, he's a very solid core, a very great core player. But when it comes to that Void, I think the most impressive player on that Faceless Void has been Nando from Signal. He has been showing us just how well you can play if you have that backup. This time around, Geek Fam with that AA pick does give you a lot more to play with as the Void. Still not the best backup damage though. Looking towards that mid laner or the off laner, if Geek Fam does run one of those things, the Tiny could still be mid or off, but the next hero pickup definitely has to be something that can contribute to displace this Void if you are going to be playing around those Chronospheres. Because he's just not going to have impact if you're expecting him to kill off people early on. The Void just does not do enough damage to do that.
So
And I like...
who do you think they go for here? Like, do you just pick up a mid laner up against the TA and it works obviously well with the Void? And I mean, Geek Fam, they already kind of ban out the Ember themselves, which was kind of intriguing. Obviously, doesn't work great with the Void's Chrono, but then I wouldn't have assumed that TNC would pick it up. So I'm kind of wondering what Geek Fam's up to here.
Well, the Lina down mid isn't too bad. I don't know about the matchup against the TA. Once the refraction charges are a bit higher, it's going to be a bit of a process to burn it through as the Lina. You do have a couple more options there, but it does remain to be seen. Again, it could be the Tiny down mid already. It could also still be the Tiny off. Although up against the TA, Tiny probably not going to have the best time. He could burn through those refraction shield charges, of course. But it just seems like a bit of a waste to use the avalanche just for that. You really want to get actual damage on with your toss to amplify.
TNC, one final ban. So they are quite thinking about this quite heavily. Geek Fam, still a bit of an open draft with them. It's hard to tell where they're laning what. Especially when they ban out that Ember.
Yeah, there's a lot of focus on TNC as well for this last ban. I think they're also wondering what Geek Fam would like to close it out with, because that's some really good lineup from Geek Fam. It does take some time for it to go online, but once it is up and running, that Void should be able to get some work done in a Chrono. They do ban out the Tide. I like that. It is giving them the much needed team fight. And what is that hero?
John, I believe it's one of the most underrated heroes in the game. The Lycan
I don't
pops
know
up.
about underrated though.
I believe it is. I truly believe it is. I don't know how it goes against the Void. That's what I'm questioning here. But I do believe it is a very, very underrated pick. And quite frankly, I don't really see the best ways of keeping him locked down throughout those team fights, apart from that Chrono.
Chronosphere. Well, beyond that Chrono, you have a point. There's really nothing. But Chronosphere is still a massive spell that you have to watch out for as the Lycan. I think it's a fair trade. Chrono for Shapeshift is pretty good. We'll see how Geek Fam does close out their draft. It's an interesting pick, right? I don't agree with underrated. I think there's a reason why this year has tapered off quite hard, Mike. I mean, there's a point last year as well where every single game had a Lycan, and in my mind, it's not underrated, right? Like it's tapered off the meta for a reason. It did have its moment in the meta fairly recently as well. It's going to be interesting to see TNC fall back to this one. Does give him a lot of push early on, a lot of early aggression, and Geek Fam, they go with the axe. I like this. In response, it is quite strong. You can get a lot going for you. It will be Cuckoo on it here, of course. It should be interesting to see just how far he can escalate. And that is some good damage coming out. Granted, the combination with the Chronosphere early on is not amazing. Like, there is a lack of damage coming out for Raven. They're going to have to position it perfectly so Ryoya can get that follow-up damage in the Avalanche at the very least. And they have to make sure that the AA lands that Ice Blast every single time. But as the game progresses, Raven can, of course, do his own damage. And Cuckoo will be setting pace. They are going to be riding on the back of this axe. We have seen this before. You rely on your axe early on to get a lot of work done. So expect him to try to get those either early durability items up or an early blink and blade mail to set the pace here.
So overall, ignoring the teams altogether, which draft do you think is better?
It's hard to say. Like, both drafts definitely have weaknesses that each one can exploit. I would honestly say by draft, TNC does strike me as coming out on top just a bit. It just looks to be aggressive early on. You expect this Lycan to start melting those towers fast, whereas Geek Fam just doesn't have a hero that really takes those towers as fast. Nothing that naturally pushes that great. You have some really good early presence from TNC as well. Great sustain and great damage potentially coming out. Geek Fam is a bit more explosive, but it's hanging off the back of Cuckoo. If he does not get a good start in this axe, they don't have anyone to really push them through in that mid game. The Void's going to take some time to farm up before the Chronosphere is effective by itself. The backup in that Chronosphere is, again, very limited. AA is the most consistent one. Whether or not you can get in range for a proper avalanche is, it remains to be seen. Depends entirely on how Raven is forced to land those Chronospheres. It's just, I just see TNC having a much easier time executing their draft compared to Geek Fam. Although if Cuckoo gets a runaway start, this axe will be able to do a lot of work.
Well, then a lot of pressure on Cuckoo to get that runaway start, as again, they don't want to get too owed by TNC in this series if they can avoid it. See how Cuckoo does perform on the axe. Of course, we did see him perform very, very well on that axe yesterday, up against Signal Ultra. We'll see if he can have a repeat kind of performance here today on this axe. Still, I love the debut of the Lycan in the closed qualifiers. Once you've got that Desolator up on the TA, I mean, you already talked about towers melting even without that Desolator, but things are going to escalate quite quick. And we'll see how Gabby does play. Because it's not so often you get to see the Lycan, so it's always fun to see the pros and what they get up to with these items builds, or whether they even change the item builds that used to be popular.
I mean, it does look like Gabby's already queuing up that early Dominator. So he does have a game plan in mind with his hero.
Just casually, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do you think Lycan Ags are? Or are they good?
Lycan Ags is the wolf summons?
Yeah, the one...
Tree wolves.
Yeah.
Situational. I wouldn't call it outright bad. It's definitely not a lot of value, and they deny the bounty rune up top, so... Wait, did they deny both?
No, they denied one. TNC will start off with 2, Geek Fam will start off with 1 banner rune, and 1 banner rune obviously was killed off by one of the wolves of Gabby.
You have learned nothing. Catch us if you can.
Cute. We'll ask for the unpause. So ultimately, with the axe, up against the Lycan, I mean, those wolves aren't going to be able to deal much harassment. That being said, though, March on the Undying may be a completely different story. With that decay and just the pure right clicks towards that axe, and even Zephyr on the Shadow Demon, can be very frustrating indeed.
Definitely will be. You can already see Cuckoo when he cops a couple of decay stacks. His HP is not as amazing as it once was, and this is something March should exploit. The issue is he can't walk up to get into right-click range, so Cuckoo's actually just going to be pretty fine once the decay does fade out.
Yeah, he hasn't got Counter Helix yet, though. Just has the Battle Hunger, and Cuckoo's lost a lot of HP. He really wants that, really wants the creep pool, but March is going to continue following and abusing him. I suppose this is why the Undying continues to be picked up throughout these closed qualifiers. Cuckoo will drag it towards his own tier 1 tower. March is still not going to back off. He is going to contest this wave. Hopefully get some denies off for himself. Cuckoo, well, he'll find 1 creep kill at the very least. Meanwhile, mid lane. Armel and Ryoyo up against each other once again. The TA versing the Tiny. It does seem to just favor Armel in this case. I mean, both should trade farm fairly evenly. But it seems like the TA won't have too much difficulty dealing with Ryoyo on the Tiny.
Definitely not. It should be a much easier time for Armel. You can play around quite nicely with your refraction. You have superior range. Tiny does not have the best armor in the world, so if he's going to cop these side blades, it's going to hurt him a lot more than you'd expect.
Avalanche Toss, though, does come in, and that's a lot of damage coming out. So Ryoya, if he can close the gap with that Avalanche Toss combination, he could really force Armel out of the lane. We'll have a close eye on these guys throughout the early stages of the game, though. Bot lane, Raven and Dubu are there. Of course, KP is playing that Korra Baton. Tim's on the position for Mirana. The thing with the Korra Baton is it's not like it 100% shuts the lane down, but it's impossible to shut him down.
Yeah, you just can't zone out this guy. So he's always going to find what he wants, even though he can't find the kill, especially with this kind of lane duo. There's just no setup for Tims to get that easy arrow, but you really can't zone KP out. He's just going to be able to find what he wants. Raven's not going to be having too good of a time. He's going to be copying some harass when he goes into last hit.
Raven still having somewhat of a decent time. 11 last hits, 2 denies. Not exactly what he would like in comparison to, say, Gabby, who has 15 and 1. He has arguably the harder lane in the form of KP's Abaddon. See how it turns out very, very soon, as we should head back up to the top lane. And Gabby, again, having a good old time. March is being very abusive with that decay. Cuckoo hasn't really been able to shut down Gabby too much quite yet. Gabby still finding the denies underneath, with that counter helix spinning around. It's just this presence of the Undying, right? Like every time you want to go for a creep pull or a creep skip, March is just going to spam that decay over and over again on Cuckoo, and he just has to second guess himself every time. And at the very least, this is going to slow down the farm of this axe quite a bit, although he does go for a call now. March will end up surviving. He is fairly tanky at 1k HP. Cuckoo actually has to be slightly careful with how he plays this. He does walk away with 130 HP left. He'll be able to salve up and he'll be okay.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the positives of having all those decay stacks on you. When you use a salve, you're going to be full HP. The decay wears off. You're back to your actual full HP as well.
KP being left alone with Raven down this bot lane. Enjoying himself quite a bit. Raven, though, will get a bit of free time himself to actually farm up a bit. They will go into Armel mid lane. Ryoya Avalanche Toss is there. Dubu was trying to help out, but they just don't have the damage output for this TA quite yet. So Armel will just happily get back to farming. This is going to be a real issue if you can't shut this man down.
Definitely has. It definitely will be. We have seen Armel, of course, on this hero before. Does a lot of work with that TA. Can just escalate quite fast. So the fact that he's having this pretty decent start is going to cause some issues for Geek Fam. Of course, the one saving grace for Geek Fam has been that top lane for Gabby. That top lane for their axe. We are seeing Cuckoo just doing a lot of work here. Really finding the farm he wants. Whether he really needs to get it going, because again, he's going to be setting the pace with his calls, jumping in, trying to buy time for the Void to get farm. Raven, he's not having as good of a time, and it's a bit worrying because Voids take a while to get online, especially with this kind of lineup where your backup is not going to be amazing.
In terms of Cuckoo's item build on the axe, though, like yesterday we saw him go for phase boost and then he rushed into the blink dagger. Do you see something similar happening this time around, or does he go for the early pipe instead, or early vanguard, something like that, or just straight to the blink?
I wouldn't mind the blink. I think I would prefer the vanguard overall, but when you go for that vanguard, that does kind of state that you want to farm a bit more. I'm not sure how much more Geek Fam would want to take it passively, especially up against a Lycan like this. Gabby has had a pretty decent start as well. He's not shut down by the axe. Cuckoo's not shut down as well. But you are just trading farm here, and this Lycan is going to hit his timings just fine. So are you going to be slowing this game down with your axe, trying to force something out? Or will you just be farming up on 3 of your cores, the Tiny, the Axe, and the Void?
See Ryoya mid lane, still trying to shut Armel down. Mind you, Ryoya has had a pretty darn good time himself in the mid lane, and he is going to rotate up towards that top where they will go after March. There's disruption coming in. Ryoya doesn't have Avalanche yet, but he can just toss up. They'll find an easy first blood onto March. Now Armel, though, going to try and punish, though the Avalanche comes in, burns through the refraction charges. Geek fam, it looks like they'll be pretty satisfied with just getting the first blood. Ryoya will just happily back towards his side of the jungle.
Yeah, it has taken a while for that to come out, and Geek fam is going to be happy securing that for themselves. Has been a slow start of a game. Both sides just playing pretty passively, trying to find what they want. Nice toss back from Ryoya.
Yeah, Avalanche is there as well. Cold Feet, though, will not freeze him up. Arrow connects from Tim's. Raven has the chrono available, but does he commit it? He absolutely does. He's just got to get through those refraction charges. Actually hits the trap as well. And Armel doesn't really have anywhere to go. Avalanche toss is there, and they do find a massive pickup. A great rotation there from Raven. He understood they needed to take the TA down. That's exactly what they do with the first chrono of the game.
That's really good game sense coming out from Raven. He does maximize that first chrono of the game, so he gets a lot going for himself. TNC not going to be happy with that trade. He really wanted Armel to maintain that good lead. He is punished. You have to be cautious about that positioning from Ryoya. He can abuse the toss repositioning, and once you lose out on your TA like that, you gotta buy them space. The one thing they did gain from that rotation is that the bot lane is freed up, although they're gonna lose March.
Oh, he does heal himself up. Still in a bit of trouble, Ryoya. He's not going to give up on this. He doesn't have toss for another 10, but Raven will happily take the kill off his hands. They'll leave KPB as he's just an Abaddon. Just let him walk away. That's going to be the first kill for Raven. But certainly going to be helping the cause here for Geek fam, as they are now 4-0. Of course, there was a denial too on the Undying, which kind of counts towards their kill score, but Cuckoo gonna find Gabby, who's just sitting there farming, has all the neutrals and wolves with him to proc the counter helix. Gabby gonna pop the ultimate Zephyr, actually getting a lot of damage dealt towards him, and they're just gonna find the kill. Although no, Cuckoo, what did he just ultimate? I think he got a creep.
Likely is. It's on cooldown, so unfortunate, but that is something that TNC is going to be very happy with. It's just a support kill. Geek fam's not going to be too upset. Still, you are slowly building up from Gabby.
Bot lane, Tombstone's been dropped. They also found Dubu on the AA. KP was the one to pick that up on the Abaddon. Tim's now. He's around the area on the Mirana. Didn't bother trying to go for the blind arrow attempt. Ryoya mid lane. Being chased down by Armel, though he'll be okay as well. He just tosses him back. 10-minute banner runes do spawn up. TNC finds 2, and where did the third one go? There it is. They found 3.
It's a pretty good trade once again for TNC. They do secure themselves a nice network lead at 10 minutes in. 2k lead for them so far. It is mainly on Gabby, so he is doing a lot of work on this Lycan. Should be melting a few more towers now, as he does have his Dominator. He has had his Dominator for a while.
And this is that dangerous point with the Lycan. Like, they start to escalate so far in farm, and they tend to push really darn quick. And once you get the Necro 3 book, it becomes even worse, though mid lane, Ryoya does end up going down. Armel was the one to pick up the kill, and now Moonlight Shadow. They want to try and go for more if they can afford to. KP, borrowed time has been popped. It does buy time to get this tier 1 mid. The fortification was also popped from the side of Geek fam. It will be an easy cleanup for TNC. PP was coming in, but was cancelled off, and that was actually Ryoya who cancelled that off. So perhaps feeling like maybe he could have gone for a deny and thought better of it in the end. And at the very least, Geek fam do use the time they have now while that T1 was going down. They do get Cuckoo a Blink Dagger. He just farms up those stacks in the jungle. And perhaps this is the initiation Geek fam need to really start making more of a difference in this game.
It definitely is gonna give them that jump in capability. I'm actually slightly surprised he didn't go for that Vanguard, but again, we have seen Cuckoo do this before. Phase into Blink, a much more aggressive playstyle for this axe. We'll see whether or not he can maximize it. This should be the Blink reveal coming out if he can get the jump in someone.
He's running forward. Gonna find the wolves of the Lycan. AP should have spotted out that blink. So perhaps not so much of a surprise anymore. Still, Cuckoo will just suffice with just farming for now. Armel. Avalanche was there, but he just blinks out with the refraction. It's hard to know who this really is favoring, because you look at the net worth board, Armel and Gabby both are at the top. Once you've got that Necro 3 book, things get seriously upsetting for Geek Fam, as those towers will not last. And your heroes will also not last very long with all those units. Of course, the Void needs farm as well, and he needs space. But it looks like it may take too long as they try to go after KB, but now the wolf form is here. March goes down to the bot lane as well. They try to go for the AA first. He TP's out, and it looks like the Void will be able to walk his way out as well.
It's the one big issue with TNC's draft. They don't really have control. Hell, they don't even have great control in teamfights as well, because their main stun is the arrow, and that is it for a very long time until someone gets a batch or something, or if you get a stun on a creep.
Oh, Chrono throws that on KP. That's a hard target. He has borrowed time, but here comes the AA Ice Blast. That'll at least stop the borrowed time from being effective. But no kills come out of the Chrono. Tombstone, they do at least find that. March. Call is there. They will at least find an Undying Impact. No, they will not. The Aphotic Shield will save the day. Now Zephyr gonna be in trouble. He'll go down straight off the bat. Raven still being chased down. And Armel is here to join the push crew. TNC will claim their first Tier 2 tower of the game. And it's just looking surgical all over again in this game number 2. I mean, they might actually apply some pressure to this Tier 3 tower. They kind of can.
Exactly, why not? You've got the creep wave, you've got all the summons in the world. You know the Chronosphere has been expended. You just have to worry about the axe, and that's it.
We're 14 minutes in though. Cuckoo jumps in with the call, gets the TA. Ice Plus only connects on Armel. Everyone else is still very healthy. And the first Tier 3 tower of the game gone at 14 minutes. And this is why I told you that it's an underrated hero job, the Lycan.
I don't think they have the lineup to deal with it. I think it's more of the fact that they gave the Lycan a runaway start. Their only response is really the Axe and Chronosphere. It is slightly them drafting themselves into a corner. They don't really have a response. Like, Void is great, but it takes a while for it to come online. The power spikes don't line up. Lycan gets a massive power spike at the early game. And the entire draft for TNC is built around that early game right now.
Raven, awkward situation for him. He's kind of just on the uphill. He's going to keep farming up. He'll get his Midas up now. So expect that farm to escalate for the Void, and it needs to really done quick at this rate. TNC are not giving them much time. Looks like Cuckoo will jump in onto KP, but again, that is an Abaddon. The Ice Blast may be flying in, though no, I don't really see one. Bubu, he holds out. They do let KP go. You look down at that bot lane, Gabby, he is not allowing that lane to push out. He's just always going to stick around there, throwing his units in. Just forcing that creep wave over and over again towards that Rax. I mean, at the very least, it will allow Raven to get some farm, which is quite nice for him. But they've always got to watch their back when that Lycan's missing.
Yeah, you've got to always be worried about that sudden push, although Gabby might be punished here.
Cuckoo, Blink, does find it. Call is very nice as well. This will be a massive pickup, and Ryoya, he does get the Avalanche toss. Already though, the Necro 3 books are up. We are 16 minutes into the game. He's got Helm of Dominator and Necro 3. I mean, a very nice kill. I'm not going to deny that from Geek Fam. I don't know if it's too late though. Top lane, TNC are going to start pushing in. Call again, very nice from Cuckoo, straight on Armel. Can they burst him though? It looks like they should be able to, but Armel somehow still alive throughout all this. KP gonna take the front lines again. March keeping his TA alive. Now they want to turn. Dubu throws up the Ice Blast. Raven's here. He has the Chrono available. Cuckoo going on the Undying as well. Ryoya jumps in. KP's gone. They also end up finding March. Now the Chrono. They found Tim's on the Mirana. They should be able to get him down, and they do. And a great turn coming out from Geek Fam. A lot of kills taken for the Radiant side, and that also is going to significantly slow down any push attempt coming out from TNC.
Those are some massive kills coming out for Geek Fam for sure. They are slowly building up here. That does give Raven some much needed gold. Is working towards that Maelstrom. Once he has that up, he should be much more comfy throwing out those Chronospheres. And you can't really afford to overextend like that as TNC. Now, the big targets they were looking for did manage to survive, so very happy that Armel's alive. Of course, TNC is going to be very thankful for that one. And they didn't manage to lose anything else beyond a couple of big heroes. But you still have a lot to go through as Geek Fam. You still have a lot to build up towards. You really want to stall this game out a bit more. That's going to be the name of the game, just stalling. You want to be able to get Raven big enough that he is going to be outscaling that Lycan, although TNC is just going to make the quick move on Roche, and it just melts fast.
Well, Amel's got a Blink Dagger Deso, like it's absolutely no contest, and now they found Cuckoo. Disruption is there from Zephyr to try and help out Cuckoo. He will blink away as well. They slow him down, not quite. But their top shrine will be taken. The TNC still will find something, and with that they go straight towards that T1 top tower. There's going to be no shrine to TP to now. So TNC, a very easy free tower for them. It looks like Geek Fam still looking for some sort of pick off across the other side of the map, but it's just not going to be there. Now another tier 2, that is a fast tower. Tier 3s with the Aegis.
Oh, nice arrow onto Cuckoo.
Yeah, well, they're going to find the axe. It'd be a massive pickup if they can get it, and they do. Avalanche was there, but not quite in time. Cuckoo will buy back. Zephyr, he goes down to the Shadow Demon, and TNC, they happily back off after the buyback.
That's it. That's all you really could hope for there. Taking out that big initiator, forcing the buyback out, does give you a lot of space, and I don't think they're going to back off, though. They're just setting up here again.
Tim's, he's got another arrow ready to go. Maybe just set up on that tier 2 mid, or maybe they'll just find Ryo. Yeah. And they do. They purge him up. He tries to TP. He doesn't get away with that. Now he's just going to try and make a run. The rest of Geek Fam are not really coming in to help out. So Ryoya's life has just been forfeit. Avalanche will be there. Mel, though, jumps in with the meld. Toss will do nothing. KP will pick up the kill. And it's going to be an 8-8, 11k net worth lead, though, for TNC. And Dota Plus, 90% chance TNC pull off this victory, apparently.
I mean, they're just going to melt through these towers now. No buyback on the axe if he does die again. Chronosphere is back up. You do have the Maelstrom onto Raven. That's not quite going to be enough. He gets arrowed up, but there's no backup for that.
Yeah, but they're just dragging out this time so they can get the bot racks. He can't TP there in time to save at least the range. Mel still has the Aegis anyway, and well, the Meld Strike Dubu just melts Cuckoo. He tried to react quickly. Not quick enough. Cuckoo even melting through the right clicks of Armel. Raven is here with his Maelstrom up, but they've already lost that bot racks. Well, Avalanche is going to be there on Armel, but he has Refraction available. They toss him back towards those tier 4s. Core will be a nice Armel. He may lose the Aegis, so they heal him up. March just keeping him alive throughout all this. Arrow will connect on the Tiny. Armel still going. Raven still holding onto the Chrono. Avalanche toss will find the Aegis. Now a massive Chrono from Raven, but where's the follow-up damage? It's not quite there yet. Cuckoo, he'll jump in with the core, but it's onto KP again. That's not the target he wanted. Zephyr may end up going down for his trouble, and does. And the rest of TNC just rotate to the mid lane where Gabby has already started the tier 3 tower. They're already laughing, and we're only 21 minutes in. Do they back off? It looks like they probably will. The wolf form is not available any longer. The buyback was already expended from Zephyr. And TNC, it's just surgical, John. It's all surgery from here.
Yeah, it's the patience for them to pull out when they know they can, to overextend when they know they can find those kills. They make great use of that Aegis. They still will be keeping a very aggressive stance, but they aren't quite setting that high ground. Perhaps just wait for that cooldown from Gabby, as you mentioned. And it is just about half a minute off. Looks like he is pretty close to his AC as well. So maybe when those two items are up, the high ground siege will be much more straightforward. That AC is just going to be slowing down all that damage from Raven. It's not going to be melting through as fast as you'd want. And you're just building up for yourself. The towers are not going to hold up. I mean, they already don't hold up. The AC is up on Gabby. 5 seconds about for Shapeshift, so they are set for another high ground. No reason to back off here for TNC.
I don't see one either. Like, sure, you lost the Aegis, but now you've got a 10-second BKB charge on Armel. Even better, I'd argue. That tier 3 is not going to be very safe for too long. Raven will TP back to the base. He'll have Chrono up in 30 seconds, and I just can't see them defending without the Chrono. They need to try and drag this out as long as possible, so at least they have that ultimate ability available to use. TNC will allow them that time. But Gabby, as you already mentioned, has the AC up. But forget about aiming the Lycan.
You have learned
You can forget about aiming the TA as well. She's not an easy target either with the refraction.
And the fresh BKB is up on Armel, so that's a 10-second charge.
Cuckoo jumps in, call there, but not really doing much. Armel going straight after Zephyr. The Shadow Demon is gone. Gabby goes after Ryoya. That's your Tiny gone as well. No buyback on either. They go straight after Dubu. Cuckoo will be next, and this does not look great for Geek Fam as they just don't have an answer. Now the arrow on Raven as well. He can't even turn around for a Chrono. The tips. Cuckoo, how big of a core can you land with that Blade Mail? Mega Creep's gonna be up in 24 minutes into this game. And there's the GG call. Chrono. Raven.
I mean, look. Geek Fam tried. I think that was a major draft error. I don't think they expected Lycan to be coming out. And they just had no response. Void just takes way too long to get his power spike going. You did not have the best heroes to combine with that Void. You didn't have the Lina, you didn't have the Sky to always make sure Raven was finding those kills when he needed to. You didn't manage to shut down Gabby's Lycan. And so he got that runaway start. He managed to melt those towers. You could not meet that momentum from TNC. And unfortunately for Geek Fam, TNC will clean sweep the series 2-0.
And they'll continue undefeated throughout these close qualifiers, TNC. I mean, it is the best team in the qualifier, arguably, of course, but they are certainly up there. Definitely looking to be the favorites in this close qualifier. Nevertheless, John, that is only our second of 5 series today. The next series coming up for us will be Signal Ultra versus AXH once again. So we'll get to see Signal for the first time today. They've actually got two series on today, so it'll be interesting to see how they go up against AXH. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. We'll be back with you guys very, very soon for that third series of the day.